Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid and another morning ramble. Have you ever heard it said, be leery of your first new neighbor that brings you an apple pie? You probably have. And to a degree, unfortunately, but to another degree, fortunately, I've learned throughout the years to kind of be leery of anybody who's bringing me an apple pie. Um, and you'll understand as I get into this. I'm going to make a video today that I've kind of wanted to make for probably 6 weeks or at least a month, that dearly, my beautiful bride, has not wanted me to make. But sometimes I think things need to be said because they need to be said, whether they come across as pleasant or not. And I can only control what I say. I can't control how you take what I say. And I'm going to use an example of this in my own life, where it took me years to figure out a couple of things. One thing specifically that somebody said to me that I was offended by at first and remained offended by for many years, until I finally got to the point in my thinking ability to be able to understand what it was this guy was saying to me. They had nothing to do with me, and it certainly was not an insult. My abilities to think just had not evolved yet to the point to where I could comprehend what this gentleman was saying. And before I get into all this, I want to give a shout out to a subscriber named Tracy G. Tracy G comments on most of our videos. Her comments, Tracy says what she believes and what she thinks, and it doesn't always coincide with, not that it doesn't coincide with the messages I'm trying to bring across in the rambles, but she states it in such a way that I find myself thinking about what I just said from a different angle. And I appreciate Tracy's ability to do this without being insulting, without being trashy. I've never met Tracy, but I bet Tracy is very confident, educated, professional, and successful. Just from the way Tracy puts her words together and challenges me to think about things from a different angle without being insulting, without degrading. That's why I hope Tracy G remains a user, or remains a subscriber and an avid follower for a long time. Thank you, Tracy G. Here I always talk about not living inside boxes, not being pigeonholed inside boxes. Sometimes I find that I am a little more so than I realize. And Tracy G and many of you out there like Tracy G helped pull me out and realize that I was, without being insulting and without being trashy. So Tracy G, thank you for your professionalism. And I'm thankful for people like you who are out there in our world who are able to help people like me and others think differently, in a way that that's how we grow, folks. Not by insulting and saying, oh, you don't think like me, so you're all these bad things, all these bad words. Tracy G never does that, but she allows me to think outside the box that I don't realize I'm in a lot of times. And so that's kind of where we're going here today. I want to address a couple things that Dearly says I should just ignore, not address. But Tracy G helps me understand that sometimes we need to address things that might not be so pleasant. So here it is. I'm just going to put it out there. We get a lot of comments, and I did go to the Facebook page today, and I read a lot of messages. There were all these messages piled up. So I'm going to make an effort at some point to maybe start using that again. I don't know. We like YouTube, and the reason we like YouTube is because we can create content, we can upload content, and this costs us nothing. You can view the content and it costs you nothing. It used to be like that on Facebook, but as I've explained in other videos, because we were on Facebook for many years, but then Facebook, they got money signs in their eyes. They saw content creators like myself and other content creators who had developed followings of millions of fans over the years. We were getting millions of views per month from the content we created, and we were making good money doing it. And Facebook finally came in and said, hey, we want a piece of the pie. If you don't pay to boost, then your X amount of number of fans you've worked hard to get over the years, they don't get to see your comment. So or they don't get to see your content. We transitioned from Facebook to YouTube. Here we are. YouTube is not saying this. We can boost if we choose to, but our content is not being suppressed because we don't. And we're getting plenty of views daily. We're getting plenty of new subscribers daily. We thank you for that because you're the reason why. And we thank YouTube for so far not coming in and charging this pay-to-play thing that caused us to leave Facebook. Now, why am I talking about this? And this is the kind of thing Dearly doesn't want me talking about. I'm talking about it because when I went to Facebook and I read some of those messages, they were like, most of them were, oh, we're glad we found you on YouTube. And this really should send a message to Facebook. We're getting messages on Facebook about our content on YouTube. It's like, wow, Facebook, if you hadn't closed the gates on us, this could be your traffic. But they closed that gate. Mark Zuckerberg got his eyes, got the big dollar sign. So a lot of folks say, we want to send you this, we want to send you that, what's an address, open a P.O. box so we can make donations, all these things. Folks, thank you, thank you, thank you. But we're not going to go that route. And I'm not going to go that route for a specific person. And you know this person because this person lives on your street. You pass her house every day. You may or may not notice her. You probably don't because she's kind of reclusive. So dear little old lady that lives on your street or out there on your country road, if you're out in the country like us, I'm going to tell you who she is here towards the end of this video. And you're going to go, oh yeah, I know her. She's the reason we're not opening a P.O. box, okay? You guys think I'm nuts, don't you? How does any of this make sense? Okay, well, and I've addressed this before. People have mentioned Patreon. And Tracy G, this is ironic because Tracy G mentioned this in a comment she left a couple days ago. We're not doing Patreon either. And we're not judging anyone that does Patreon. Patreon, however you say it. You know, that's the thing where we can create content, upload the videos, and charge you like $1 a month or 17 cents a month or whatever. We're not doing it. We love how here on YouTube, for now, as YouTube has it, we can create content for free. Doesn't cost us a thing. We can upload it for free. I mean, I'm making this one here today on an obsolete iPhone 6 I bought my wife in Manila 4 years ago. Or 3 years ago, that she's never been able to even gain internet access to in the US because of the security codes that comes from a different country. And the other camera we use to make these videos, I mentioned before, was an old digital camera that we got at a thrift store for $3. I haven't used it in a couple of weeks because it's out of, the batteries died and I need to get some more AA batteries. But this is the technology we use. $3 on that thing and whatever we paid for this here some time ago. Now that was pricey because it's an iPhone 6, but this is just too easy for me to sit here and spend a little bit of time doing this. And it's too easy for you guys at home to use your phones or your laptops or whatever to watch what I'm saying. And nobody's paying anything. So we're not going to go to Patreon because this is working for now. Now, I started this video talking about the neighbor that brought the pie. You know, a lot of you are here because you saw the annoying neighbor with the crayon video, and the first time I saw that comment, it was a comment on that video. They said, always be leery of the first neighbor to bring you a pie. And I was thinking, well, this guy didn't bring me a pie, but I thought back more about it, and actually he was the first person to come around here. When we were buying this house, we were having a bit of a problem there at the end getting approval for the loan. It was FHA, and they had this thing about cracked paint, chipped paint. Many of you are familiar with this because of lead-based paint used prior to 1970. This house was built in 1903, so we had to make sure there was no chipped paint. So it failed the FHA inspection twice, actually, because of chipped paint. Now after this, the lender and the real estate agent, everybody's like, well, you guys, this isn't my problem, this isn't my fault, this isn't my problem. We did everything we were supposed to do to get this to go through, so don't blame us. We weren't blaming anybody, but what it was is they wanted to make sure they didn't receive any blame if the deal didn't go through. So I looked at Dearly and Daniel and I said, well, if it is to be, it's up to me, it's up to us yet again. These folks don't want to step in here and figure out how to solve this problem, so let's solve it. So we went and got a bunch of very inexpensive paint from Walmart, $10 a gallon, and we spent 3 days out here towards the end of the summer. It was in the 90s. The power was off at the house, so we were in there. We'd paint for 10 minutes, go outside and sit in the shade for 20. Go inside and paint for 10 minutes, come outside and sit in the shade for 20. And we did this from top to bottom because we wanted this house, we wanted this property, and we weren't going to let something so small that no one else wanted to help us resolve keep this deal from happening. So we came out here, we did the work. even on the outside of the house. I was crawling up on the roof and painting chipped paint on a bricked up old chimney that hasn't been used in probably 80 years. Because only one wood stove. We use one wood stove now. The other one was from where they used to actually cook in the kitchen with wood, and it had been bricked up many years ago. This used to be a sharecropper's house. So anyway, we got everything resolved, got everything fixed. Deal went through, we got the house, and all those people who didn't want to be blamed were our best friends again. But my point is, on the second day we're coming up in here to paint the house, before we got out of the car, we pulled in, stopped, got out of the car, the annoying neighbor, Mr. J, was right behind us on our tailgate. It was almost creepy. It was scary. But here he is with his smiles and all that. And then as it turned out, you know, he wanted all the hay and went through all those issues for a year and a half once we told him, hey, you don't get the hay anymore. And guys, it's helpful to be a little bit cautious when people want to be, you know, there's a guy just a few weeks ago started coming around. I'm sitting out here having breakfast one morning, and this guy's walking through my field, and I'm like, who's this guy? So he comes over. Turns out he lives right down the road, and nice enough guy, good enough guy, and I enjoyed him coming by. But part of my mind says, okay, we've been neighbors for 2 years. Why now? Why now? What's going on? Well, it turns out, long story short, he wanted to hunt deer on my land. And I pleasantly told him, no, you know, we're not hunting here. No one else is either, legally. He hasn't been back. Good guy, but just, yeah, I've found that, and then there's other people, like the guy right beside me, never wanted a thing. He's offered to help me at times when he knew I needed help, and he has, and I've helped him in return. Other guy over here. I mean, I want to make sure, guys, you get the point. I'm untrustful of everybody. It's like a wise man once said, trust but verify. I make sure to verify. And the neighbor on the other side, a wonderful guy. Spoken to him several times. We don't have a lot to do with each other. You know, everybody out here is we're personable, we're friendly, but we're reclusive. We live out here because we kind of want to be left alone. But I know if I go to the neighbors on either side of my house because I have a need, I know they're going to help me. And if they come to me for any reason, they can count on me to help them to the ability of which I can help them. And that's because neither of them came to me originally seeking help or looking for favors, okay? If that's the first reason you're coming around, I probably am just not going to want to have much to do with you after that. But if you come around for a sincere, genuine reason, like these two guys and this guy's wife, you know what I'm saying. You guys are picking up what I'm laying down. So, at any rate, we're going through these messages. Oh, we love your channel. We want to send you this. Guys, we have everything we need. If there's anything we need, we have the ability to get it. Thank you for the kind concerns. But we're not going to go that route either, where we set up a P.O. box. And I'm not judging people that do. I know some other YouTube content creators who have done this, and I don't know them well, but I think I can kind of judge their character well enough to know that they're good people, they're wonderful people. They're not looking for freebies or hand-me-outs. It's just a lot of content creators do this, and there's no maliciousness involved with it. But for me, listen, I've shared it with you before. I'm going to share it with you again today, and I'm going to read you a pledge I took years ago when I read this book, and this pledge changed my life. And it was just a few short years ago. But I've shared with you before that I'm an objectivist. And many of you know who that is because many of you are objectivists too. One of the messages that was, you know, a month old because I haven't been on Facebook in a month, but it was like, hey, I'm an objectivist and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of you are saying, what's an objectivist? Well, it's a philosophy attributed to Ayn Rand, an author, Russian-born American author. She wrote Atlas Shrugged. If you haven't read it, please do. It'll change your life. She wrote The Fountainhead. If you haven't read it, please do. It'll change your life. But I know many of you have heard, who is John Galt? Well, of course, that comes from Atlas Shrugged. When Galt went off to Galt's Gulch, you know, he eventually would allow others to join him, like Dagny Taggart and some other characters from the story. But they had to take a pledge. And part of that pledge said this: I swear by my life and my love of it that I will never live for the sake of another man nor ask another man to live for mine. It's that simple. Guys, we live the way we do out here on the homestead because this is how we want to live. You know, the point of this, I made some notes here, this pledge, And you know, Ayn Rand's concept of objectivism is that we each have the inalienable right to pursue happiness how we feel we want to pursue that happiness, as long as we're not hurting others. Um, and our happiness, we pursue our happiness, it's all based upon our own values. Each of us have different forms of happiness. Some people achieve happiness by helping others and going out of their ways to help others. That's wonderful, and I'm not judging you. Our way is to live our life the way we want to live it without coming up with explanations for it or justifications for it, because none are necessary. No one is obligated to us for any reason. We don't feel the world owes us anything, and likewise, this frees us to keep us from feeling obligated to any other people by any other means or in any other way. We're happy that we can come into your homes through your gadgets by living the way we live and sharing the way we live with you and sharing some of our views with you. And we are not going to charge you for this to be done. We're not going to Patreon. If you get something out of what I say, if you enjoy the recipes my wife shows, and if you enjoy watching us with our gardens and continually building up our homestead over time here with the things we're doing, we want you to be able to do that without paying for it. And as thankful as we are that you want to send us gifts, we've got to thankfully say no thank you. And now I'm going to talk about the woman that lives on your street, who is the main reason we're doing it. It's not, the main reason is not because we're proud, because we have a sense of false pride, and because we fear that you might view us as being obligated to you. Let's say you send us a tripod so I don't have to hold the phone anymore, and then our fear is that you're going to come along later and say, okay, hey, I paid for that tripod, so you better make this video this way, like control issues. That's not our fear, and that's not what we're saying, because you're not going to get anywhere with me that in the first place, like the guy who wanted to hunt on my land. Appreciate him coming by, and he was a wonderful guy, and he's always welcome to come by here and chat anytime he wants to, anytime in the future. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but he's not going to be up here killing my deer, or the deer. They're not my deer, okay? It's just not going to happen. When I was a mailman, and another reason I couldn't tell this story up until now is because there for a while I had to kind of keep it anonymous who I was working for, because of a series of videos I was making where I was, outing my employer for a lot of the abuses that was going on there. A lot of the abuses that were going on there. It's the United States Postal Service. And we made a video about that. And if you haven't watched it, it's a little lengthy, but it's worth your time to watch. There are some wonderful post offices out there, especially in the smaller communities. And I'm sure the abuses aren't going on. A lot of other mail carriers came out and said, hey, I've been here many years. We've never experienced that, but we know those go on in the bigger offices. So it's not all of the entire, post office system. It was here in Charlottesville. To my understanding, things have been rapidly changing in the 3 weeks since I've been gone and that video came out. But there I go, ramble. Okay, my point was, I can now disclose that I was working for the post office. This is where I came to know this little old woman on your street. Even though I may have never delivered mail in your town, I know she's there because I found that this woman lives in every neighborhood. She lives in every neighborhood in Charlottesville, and she probably lives in every neighborhood across the United States and probably around the world. And this lady is why we're not setting up a P.O. box. Most towns, or most neighborhoods in Charlottesville, it's a younger type community. There's a, but then there are parts of town where they're the retirees, and you could tell a lot about the demographics of a neighborhood based upon the mail. Where the younger folks lived, 40 or under, they hardly ever got any mail. They got that third-class junk mail, that, solicitations, advertisements, and that was it, because they pay their bills online. Everything's set up to ACH, their paychecks. They receive their paychecks online like I do. They pay their electric bill, their internet bill, all this stuff online like we do. So there's none of this stuff going. They're not writing out checks, sending them out. But then you would get into a neighborhood where the people receive more mail daily. These were the older folks who never really transitioned to doing everything online. They still pay their bills through the mail. They receive whatever income they have coming in they get checks in the mail. And I felt so sorry for those people, because they're supposed to get those checks on the first of the month. But, in places like Charlottesville where the mail is so terrible and pathetic because they're so understaffed. You know, they're not getting their checks till the 10th or the 12th of the month. And it's just, I sure wish those folks, if you're watching, would do things electronically. But anyway, in every neighborhood, there was one little old lady who got a stack of mail like this every day. I mean, it was just, oh, and it was terrible when, you know, you had to walk a loop up a hill and that little old lady lived up at the top of the hill because you're carrying 20 pounds of mail in one arm and you know where it's going. It's going to the last house up there on the left. And you get up there and it was always such a relief because you got rid of all that mail. And then the rest of that loop was pretty easy because you weren't carrying so much weight. Well, the little old lady got so much mail because she gave money to everybody that asked for it. She gave money to any cause she saw out there that said they needed money. She would give them money every month. And, you know, she was saving the bays. She was saving the birds. She was saving the Smurfs. She was saving the National Club of Radio Astronomy Gang, or just each and everybody that wanted money. She was writing them a check and giving them money. And God bless her kindness and God bless her feeling of giving. But, you know, this poor little old lady, you know, you saw that. And there was one in every neighborhood. I don't want to say there was one on every street, but there was a little old lady like this in every neighborhood. And my heart just went out to them because, you know, were they being taken advantage of? Yeah. I mean, now they didn't have to give. They were making the choice to give. But folks, you know what I'm getting at here. We're not going to open up a P.O. box because I know that there are some good-natured, wonderful, warm-hearted people just like this watching these videos. And ma'am or sir, if you're a guy, we're happy to come into your home every day and share our lives with you and share my philosophy with you, as crazy and maybe twisted as it might seem at times. And we love the fact that we can do this for free. We don't want anything from you in return. If you want to click like, if you want to click share, if you want to click subscribe, thank you. That's the only help we ask. It's the only, you know, that's the only way you're going to be able to help us. And if you help us in that way, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. But that's why, and Dearly said I shouldn't even talk about this, but, you know, Tracy G, subscriber, helps me understand that sometimes there are things that should be said, even though they don't need to be. And this is something that probably didn't need to be said, but it's something I wanted to say just to kind of let you folks know where we're coming from. If we do ever decide to get a tripod, we can afford to buy a tripod. And I'm not trying to sound ungrateful. I'm not trying to sound ungrateful in any way. I'm very grateful to each and every one of us who have reached out and who have wanted to help us and who have wanted. If you have an idea that you think might benefit us, give us your idea in the comment section, because we do read the comments. And if we like your idea and we want to pursue it, we will. And we have a lot of it, like the chop and drop weeding method. And if it's an idea that involves us going out and purchasing something, and if we want to do that, we will. And we have the funds to do it. We don't want to be that neighbor coming around bringing you apple pie. We're not coming into your screens here every day giving you some apple pie because we're going to give you this much and then we want to come around and ask you for this much later. That's just not who we are. So thank you for the concern and the effort. But if you want to support us, just keep watching. Come back, keep watching, click like and share and subscribe. And you're helping us more than you could realize. So with that said, we are going to run into town today to run some errands, to pick up some things while Daniel's in school. He had a great first day of school yesterday. We were going to make a video about his first day of school when he got home from school, but frankly, we were just selfish with him because we were so happy to see him when he got back. We both were fighting over who got to hug him first and the longest, and then we went out and drove up the road and walked up a country road for 15 minutes, turned around and walked back to get our 30-minute family walk in. Then we took a joyride, rode around a big long loop, stopped at a little country store that actually has a little short order restro in it, and ate some burgers and just spent all evening together until it was time to go to bed. So that's why you didn't get your Danielle's interview about the first day of school. So I'm going to wrap this up, and as I do so, I'm going to give you a parting shot of the homestead. I hope maybe at least one thing I said today made sense. Thanks for coming back to spend another morning with us, or afternoon or evening, depending upon when you choose to watch our videos. And we'll see you with more next time.